The investigation over Tua Tagovailoa re-entering Sunday's game just became a whole lot more important after what happened last night. The NFL's done a lot to mitigate the risk of head injuries. It's been well documented. There have been lawsuits. There have been hundreds of millions of dollars paid out. But football is a violent sport. Players were forced to wear guardian caps this preseason. The league has tried to crack down on helmet-to-helmet contact. But last night, Tua Tagovailoa suffered a scary head injury. And the league has taken concussions and other head injuries seriously for years. But after last night, the NFL's concussion protocol should be in question. And if you're just picking up the story now, you're midway through the story. You should have been picking up the story on Sunday in the game against the Buffalo Bills. So he suffers an injury. I thought it was a concussion. I thought the reaction, the signs, the symptoms were a concussion. This is Sunday. And even if it wasn't, and I did pose this question, let's say it wasn't a concussion, but the end result was him standing up and then stumbling again, and his teammates had to hold him up. Let's just say whatever the injury was, it brought about that reaction. There was no outcry from that injury causing that reaction, those symptoms, to keep him out of last night's game. Let's just take concussion off the table. Okay, it's a back injury. I just kept hearing, well, it wasn't a concussion. Okay, if it's not a concussion and your star player reacted that way, what does this mean? Spine injury? Neck injury? Head injury? He wobbled. I've seen fighters that react that way. Not my quarterback. And not 4 days later. That's where I wanted to know, where are the grown-ups in the room? Somebody needed attention. It's not a concussion. We're going to have a doctor and an independent doctor, and he's cleared and he's back in. Okay. He did come back in, seemed to be okay. Then there's last night. So 4 days later, playing and suffered a concussion. Got thrown to the ground. NFL Players Association was already investigating. And now they got even more to investigate. You're watching this and you're wondering, okay, medically cleared 4 days later. Has anybody brought up the severity of a back injury that could cause you to react that way, stumble that way? That's all I ask. I'm not a doctor. There's going to be a lot of people playing doctor on radio and TV today, and probably last night. There could be a coincidence of what happened on Sunday and then last night, and they're not attached to one another. I guess I have to factor that in. Maybe he did have a back injury. I know he had a concussion. I'm not even sure if he should have been flying last night. I don't know if there's swelling on the brain. You got a concussion. There's no doubt about that. And then he's going to get on the plane, 3 or 4 hours later after coming out of a Cincinnati hospital? Could you leave him overnight for observation? These are just normal questions that I have. You got 10 days off. How about we slow the process here a little bit? How about we look at what happened? How about we judge this in the moment of, let's keep him overnight here? I'm guessing everybody was like, all right, we did everything we were supposed to do on Sunday. Okay. Nobody's answered the question. What happened that would lead you to have that reaction where you're stumbling and you appear to be out on your feet? You're grabbing your helmet. You've got cobwebs. You're shaking your helmet. And then you go to the sidelines. He doesn't have a concussion. He's got a back injury. What is it about the back injury that created that? Is that a one-off? Hey, that's one of those fluke things? I've yet to hear any explanation other than he didn't have a concussion. Hey, he went through concussion protocol. And I don't know how Tua felt. I don't know if he lied about it. Drew Brees yesterday said he lied about it all the time so he could stay in the game. I understand that mentality. Did anybody think maybe Tua shouldn't have played last night? Anybody? That's the problem I have. And Richard Sherman at halftime, Richard Sherman was one of the analysts for Amazon. Amazon may have overcovered the injury during the game and undercovered the injury at halftime. And you know, people said, "Oh, you can't be showing all those replays." It is a news story. Okay? It is a news story. And I've been involved in these shows. I was at the Olympics when an Olympian died. How many times do you show something where somebody has died? But Tua and the reaction and his fingers, that's a story. That's a news story that's happening. And I understand, you know, you got some veterans who were doing that game last night. Al Michaels as the play-by-play voice. Fred Godelli, who's done Sunday Night Football, as their executive producer. They know what they're doing. But we got to halftime, and they didn't cover the story. They covered the reaction of the people who were on the set to the story, which I don't care. And did you cover Sunday's story to then follow up with last night at halftime? Because you can't separate the two. And this isn't to bang on Amazon's halftime show. They didn't do a good job. Because that should have been your halftime show. Tua, Sunday, leads us to Thursday. Richard Sherman, you have criticized Thursday Night Football when you played. Should he have been playing? Did anybody have any thoughts about this prior to? Ryan Fitzpatrick, you played the position. They should have brought in Michael Smith, who's a journalist. They didn't bring him in until the end of the game, post-game. They didn't play the Sunday hit until the fourth quarter. Cover the story. Be fair to the story. Ask questions about this. There's a reason why the commissioner doesn't come on this show, because I asked some goddamn questions here. And people have to ask questions. This is serious with what happened to Tua. But go back to Sunday and take me step by step through this, just so I understand this. I railed on this. I asked this question. I kept saying, okay, no concussion. That guy should not be playing football 4 days later. And it's not like I'm waiting till after the fact Friday to talk about Sunday. He should not have been playing last night. God, I got to look at... You know, we talk about these careers. I've been doing this so long, I see somebody when they start and when they finish. And I hope Tua has a 15-year career. But you got to protect a player from himself. They all lie to stay in a game. I told you the story about Hines Ward. Got hit. He got rocked. He knew he had a concussion. He grabbed his ankle so he could try to stay in the game. Guys have concussions. I know if Tua had come out and said on Tuesday, you know what, I've been medically cleared, but I don't feel comfortable playing, we'd probably be criticizing him. Oh, come on. Man up. You know, the greats play. Okay. I get it. I just want to know. That was an injury that led to that video that I saw, that reaction, those symptoms. And that would really, really cause me for concern. And then last night, if he didn't run any risk of flying home, I still would have kept him in the hospital. I'm guessing he got swelling on the brain. It was just frustrating. It really was last night. But didn't we see this coming? All right. Get some phone calls here. The head of the NFL Players Association vows to pursue every legal option regarding the handling of Tua's injury on Sunday. Well, that's okay. That's Sunday. What about last night? Was there anybody in the room who said maybe he shouldn't play? I'm just curious about that. All right, Paulie, what do you have for me?
Dan, so anyone could go on NFL.com and see the step-by-step protocol, the NFL's concussion protocol from before the game, during the game, after the game. The one thing that really stood out with Sunday is they have a category called observable signs. If the team medical doctors or the independent doctor that the NFL has on every NFL sideline observes certain things, he should be brought back for further evaluation. One of them is if a player has balance, gait difficulties, motor incoordination, stumbling, slow, labored movements. Yeah. And when he got up from that hit, even if it was his back, as you said, that's one that you check the box yes. And then you would keep him in the locker room for further evaluation.
David Hyde, who covers the Dolphins, he's a columnist, the Florida Sun-Sentinel, is going to join us. And he spoke with a person who is well-versed in concussions, Chris Lewinsky. Chris Lewinsky, I'll give you the background here, a neurologist, co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Foundation associated with Boston University. So Chris Nowinski, the university's Chronic Trauma Center. He's been in studio with us before. He tweeted this. This is a disaster. This is before the game. This is a disaster. Fire the medical staffs and coaches. I predicted this, and I hate that I'm right. 2 concussions in 5 days can kill somebody. This can end careers. How are we so stupid in 2022? Early Friday morning, and Tua now being released from the hospital, flying back to South Florida with the Dolphins. People die from this every year. Somebody needs to be fired. He did tweet before this game that Tua should never play in this game. He shouldn't be playing in this game. 4 hours before the kickoff, Chris Nowinski tweeted, if Tua takes the field tonight, it's a massive step back for concussion care in the NFL. If he has a second concussion that destroys his season or career, everyone involved will be sued and should lose their jobs, coaches included. We all saw it. Even they must know this isn't right. Head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, had this to say.
All of his teammates, myself, we were all very, very concerned. So the best news that we could get is that everything is checked out, that he didn't have anything more serious than a concussion. He'll be flying back with us here on the plane.
Here's Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins head coach, on a brain specialist for Tua.
There's an independent specialist that specializes in the specialty of brain matter. So for me, as long as I'm coaching here, I'm not going to fudge that whole situation.
Okay. I appreciate that. What was the back injury that would have led to that result with Tua on Sunday? Just help me understand that. And if the team cleared him and an independent doctor cleared him, okay. I just want to know how somebody could be out on their feet shaking their head. Hey, it's not a concussion. Okay. It still led to that. Well, hopefully it's not that serious. That is, he's got 10 days to get ready for his next game. It was just frustrating to watch that. I didn't think he should have been playing. And this is before the fact, because I didn't have answers here. I was waiting to hear answers. I didn't. And this is a quick turnaround Thursday night on the road against Cincinnati. And maybe it's just a coincidence. What happened last night and what happened on Sunday, they're not connected. Maybe. As a journalist, I have to factor that in. But as a journalist, I have to ask some damn questions here.